Hello, and welcome to the virtual public information session for the Enbridge Gas 5371 Boundary Road Pipeline Project. At any time, you can press pause or stop this presentation. You also have the opportunity to download the transcript to this video on our virtual public information session website or on the Enbridge Gas Project website. Links are provided on the next slide and at the end of the presentation. This virtual public information session will be live for 2 weeks, beginning Monday, November 14th, and ending Sunday, November 27th, 2022. Dillon Consulting has been hired to conduct an environmental study to assess the potential environmental and socioeconomic effects that may result from the proposed 5371 Boundary Road Pipeline Project. This presentation will provide you with information about the proposed project, proposed pipeline route, and Ontario Energy Board process, and will outline how you can stay informed and participate. You can provide your input on the project by completing the questionnaire available on the virtual public information session website at www.boundaryroadea.ca. Please submit your comments by Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. After Sunday, November 27th, 2022, this presentation, the accompanying video transcript, and the questionnaire will be available for download on the Enbridge Gas website at www.enbridgegas.com/boundaryroad. Enbridge Gas provides safe and reliable delivery of natural gas to more than 3.8 million residential, commercial, and industrial customers across Ontario. Enbridge Gas will carefully consider all input on the project and is committed to involving local communities and affected stakeholders throughout the regulatory process. Enbridge Gas commits to providing up-to-date information in an open, honest, and respectful manner. Enbridge Gas is committed to environmental stewardship and conducts all of its operations in an environmentally responsible manner. Enbridge Gas is committed to protecting the health and safety of all individuals affected by its activities. Enbridge Gas will provide a safe and healthy working environment and will not compromise the health and safety of any individual. Its goal is to have no workplace incidents and to mitigate, to the extent feasible, its impacts on the environment. To achieve this goal, Enbridge Gas will work with our stakeholders, peers, and others to promote responsible environmental practices and continuous improvement. Enbridge Gas is committed to environmental protection and stewardship and recognizes that pollution prevention, biodiversity, and resource conservation are key to a sustainable environment. All employees are responsible and accountable for contributing to a safe working environment, for fostering safe working attitudes, and for operating in an environmentally responsible manner. The purpose of this virtual public information session is to provide information on the project and illustrate the preferred route for the pipeline, inform landowners, Indigenous communities, municipalities, stakeholders, and regulatory authorities about the project, and gather feedback about the proposed pipeline route. Give everyone the chance to participate during the process of completing the environmental report update, which will be included in the application to the Ontario Energy Board. Provide an opportunity to identify any unknown constraints and review draft plans to mitigate impacts to the local community and the environment. Create a space for you to ask questions and/or provide comments to Enbridge Gas or Dillon Consulting. We are committed to a comprehensive consultation process and want to hear from you. Our consultation approach is inclusive by reaching out to all who may be interested or affected parties and providing opportunities to become informed and get involved. Transparent by providing access to information and clear explanations for decisions. Accountable, explaining how your input will be used in the decision-making process. An important part of the consultation process is working with stakeholders to identify and resolve potential project-related issues and concerns. Enbridge recognizes the diversity of Indigenous peoples who live where the company works and operates. They understand from history the destructive impacts on the social and economic well-being of Indigenous peoples. Enbridge recognizes and realizes the importance of reconciliation between Indigenous communities and the broader society. Positive relationships with Indigenous peoples based on mutual respect and focused on achieving common goals will create positive outcomes from Indigenous communities. Enbridge commits to pursue sustainable relationships with Indigenous nations and groups in proximity to where Enbridge conducts business. To achieve this, Enbridge will govern itself by the principles presented on the next slide. Enbridge Gas will govern itself by the principles listed on this slide. You may pause this video if you wish to review this slide further. The commitment is a shared responsibility involving Enbridge and its affiliates, employers, and contractors. They will conduct business in a manner that reflects the principles listed on the previous slide. Enbridge will provide ongoing leadership and resources to effectively implement the principles, including the development of implementation strategies and specific action plans. Enbridge commits to periodically review this policy so that it remains relevant and respects Indigenous culture and varied traditions. This slide provides some background on the project. Enbridge Gas first initiated the project in 2019 at the request of two customers. A public information section took place on November 27, 2019, and an environmental assessment and design was completed in early 2020. However, before an application to the Ontario Energy Board was submitted, the project was put on hold, as the potential customers withdrew their request in October of 2020. The project then recommenced in May 2022 at the request of one customer. While the project study area remains consistent, Enbridge Gas has retained Dillon Consulting to oversee the environment-related components required for a new application to the Ontario Energy Board. The project is customer-driven and intended to only serve the warehouse located at 5371 Boundary Road. The project involves the installation of approximately 700 meters of 4-inch steel pipeline along Cartwright Street, 9.4 kilometers of 4-inch polyethylene pipeline along Boundary Road, and a new district station on the north side of Cartwright Street, approximately 60 meters west of Boundary Road. District stations are pressure regulating stations that reduce natural gas pressure and feed lower pressure networks safely. The pipeline will be installed mainly within existing road allowance, with additional temporary workspace potentially required for laydown, storage, and excess soils management. This figure provides an overview of the project components. You may pause this video if you need additional time to review the map. An interactive version of the map is also provided on the virtual public information session website at www.boundaryroadea.ca. A natural environment field survey of the project footprint was conducted by a Dillon Consulting biologist on September 16, 2022. The project footprint is defined as a 30-meter buffer on each side of the proposed pipeline route. The project footprint consists of the following land classifications outside of the municipal road allowance: deciduous forest, deciduous thicket, unevaluated wetland, mixed meadow, agricultural, residential, industrial, and commercial. Eastern wood pewee, monarch butterfly, and butternut are examples of species at risk that are known to occur in the project area. Dillon Consulting did not observe any of these species during the September 16th site visit. This slide lists examples of potential effects on the natural environment and the types of mitigation measures that may be considered in the environmental assessment. The project would be constructed within the municipal road allowance, therefore limiting the potential for adverse effects on the natural environment. Temporary workspace, where required, will be sited to avoid sensitive environmental features. The project study area, which is defined in the 2020 environmental report as a 100-meter buffer on each side of the proposed pipeline route, is situated in Ward 20 of the City of Ottawa and Russell Township. The study area is mainly composed of agricultural lands and woodlands, with some industrial and low-density residential areas. The study area is also within the current Algonquins of Ontario land claim for their unceded traditional territory. There are two parcels of land adjacent to the Boundary Road slated to be transferred to the Algonquins of Ontario, according to a non-binding agreement in principle signed by the Algonquins of Ontario and the governments of Canada and Ontario on October 18, 2016. This slide lists examples of potential effects on the socioeconomic environment and the types of mitigation measures that may be considered in the environmental assessment. Measures will be implemented during construction to reduce noise, control dust, and maintain traffic flow on effective roads. You may pause this video if you need additional time to review this slide. A Stage 1 archaeological assessment for the property was completed and submitted to the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport in February of 2020. The Stage 1 study determined that no previously registered archaeological sites are located within 1 kilometer of the study area. The property inspection determined that parts of the proposed pipeline route exhibited archaeological potential and recommended that these areas, notably the district station location, be subject to a Stage 2 archaeological assessment prior to construction. Currently, a Stage 2 assessment is planned for spring 2023. There are no properties within the study area that are listed or designated under the Ontario Heritage Act based on a review of the City of Ottawa Heritage Register and the Russell Township website. The Ministry's criteria for evaluating potential built heritage resources in cultural heritage landscapes checklist was completed and concluded that there is low potential for built heritage or cultural heritage landscapes in the study area. The proposed pipeline is designed to meet and/or exceed the regulations of the Canadian Standards Association and the applicable regulations of the Technical Standards and Safety Authority. The construction work is temporary and transitory. Once the pipe is laid, the area will be restored to as close to pre-construction condition as possible. Enbridge Gas takes many steps to safely and reliably operate their network of natural gas pipelines, such as designing, constructing, and testing their pipelines to meet or exceed requirements set by industry standards and regulatory authorities, ensuring that any work is respectful of community activities, regulations, and bylaws, continuously monitoring their network, performing field surveys to detect leaks and confirm that corrosion prevention methods are working as intended. This slide shows a figure depicting a typical pipeline construction sequence in a rural setting. Steps 1 to 5, our site preparation, may not necessarily apply to this project since the pipeline is going to be installed within the existing municipal road allowance. However, it still provides a useful illustration of the general steps in the pipeline construction process. You may wish to pause this video at this time in order to review the construction phases illustrated here. Enbridge Gas is committed to working with the community on construction planning, mitigation, and post-construction monitoring. Post-construction monitoring will be conducted so that impacted areas are restored to as close to pre-construction conditions as possible. Enbridge Gas recognizes that the construction of the pipeline may result in short-term adverse impacts and commits to applying mitigation measures to reduce these impacts and work with the municipality and landowners so that issues are resolved in a timely manner. For the project to proceed, approval from the Ontario Energy Board is required. The Ontario Energy Board requires that Enbridge Gas complete an environmental report, which consists of an environmental assessment and route selection study. This report will also be submitted to the Ontario Pipeline Coordinating Committee for review and comment. The Ontario Energy Board will review the environmental report for the project, including details of consultation, as part of what is known as a leave to construct application. Once Enbridge Gas submits a leave to construct application to the Ontario Energy Board, any party with an interest in the project may apply to the board to become interveners or interested parties in order to participate in the decision-making process. Following their review of the leave to construct application, the Ontario Energy Board will make a determination about whether the project is in the public interest. This slide outlines the history of the project to date and where we are currently in the environmental study process. Enbridge Gas is committed to open dialogue throughout the environmental assessment and the Ontario Energy Board leave to construct application process. Stakeholders will have the opportunity to remain engaged in the process after the environmental assessment is completed through participation in the Ontario Energy Board hearing as an intervener or interested party, You can find details on the Ontario Energy Board website at www.oeb.ca. Contacting Enbridge Gas or Dillon Consulting project team members via the contact information provided at the end of this presentation. Visiting the Enbridge Gas project website at www.enbridgegas.com/Boundary Road. Thank you for participating in our virtual public information session. We want to hear from you. Please complete the project questionnaire on the virtual public information session website at www.boundaryroadea.ca to provide your input and opinion of the project. If you would prefer, you can also download the comment form and submit your feedback by email at boundaryroadea@dillon.ca. After Sunday, November 27, this presentation, the accompanying video transcript, and questionnaire will be available for download on the Enbridge Gas website at www.enbridgegas.com/Boundary Road. Please submit your feedback by Wednesday, December 14th, 2022, so it can be considered in the environmental report update that will be submitted to the Ontario Energy Board. For more information or to submit comments or questions, please use the contact information provided on this slide to contact a member of the project team.